Well, good afternoon, YTPC. It's Dave coming to you from the paddock here in Southern Maryland. And this is a VR to J&D's Pipe Dreams. So they got out and asked us, who was most influential in your life? And I've warned you that I'm a recovering politician. So I'm going to answer the question that I wished he had asked. Always changing the rules. So I need a visual aid for this. So I'm going to stop this little intro and move you back over and show you my visual aid and talk you through it. All right, guys, here's the visual aid. I wish I could give you a single answer, and I probably could make one up, but it wouldn't be the right answer. It wouldn't be the real answer for my life. So what I've done here is here's my successometer, okay? See, I'm getting more successful as I go up here. And here's my age, and I'm getting older as we go out here. And you can see these points in my life where the trajectory of my life got better. The slope of my good life actually got better. I counted 9 life inflection points. And I'm going to walk you through them. So as I turned 18 and my life was ending in high school, I needed to decide what to do after high school. And my mom was a negative influence. I had to get away from her. I had to get away from home. It was a bad bad life experience up till then, essentially. So I had to get out. But that's negative isn't always bad. I always talked about when you come to a point in your life where there's a change, some things push you to success and some things pull you to success. We normally only talk about the people that influenced you from a positive way, but my mom pushed me away to success. And my best friend Eric Gunnarsson, he was going to Pacific Lutheran University, which was a private university. I was dirt dick poor. He convinced me I could do it. I applied and spent 4 years working my way through college, but the university let me in and let me pay for that school through my sports scholarships for running and then working full-time at the school at the university for no pay. They actually picked up most of my tuition because of those two things. That changed my life. That got me from sort of that flat line to actually starting to improve. In the 4 years of college, I continued to do so. At 22, I was coming up. It was really like November of my senior year in college. And my professor, Dr. Rick Spillman, said, Dave, you're the kind of guy I need to go to this interview session. And it was with the MITRE Corporation. They had come onto my campus. He said, get the best resume together you can. They're going to want you. And so at 22, I went and interviewed with MITRE on my campus. And they ended up hiring me. It took me into the career that I know today, which is the tech career. And really, just about a year later, I was flying. Now I'm 23. I was flying back and forth between Boston, Massachusetts, and Seattle, Washington. And one day I sat next to a guy on the airplane on the way home from Boston to Seattle, a guy named Jim Stanfill. And by the end of the flight, he was having trouble reading some things. So he said, hey, you seem like a sharp young guy. Maybe you'd help me. And by the end of the flight, he said, you need to call me tomorrow. I need a man like you on my staff. I called him the next day and he hired me, and I became an employee of Digital Equipment Corporation, the number 2 only to IBM computer company of the world. And that put me on just a series of great life adventures and resume builders. And it brought me to the job in Alaska on Elmendorf Air Force Base where I met Anne Marie, and she changed my life trajectory. And look, it just stayed constant pretty much all the way for all these years, from 24 to 34. For 10 years, this woman put up with me and taught me what it was to be a good man. At age 34, a man walked up to my desk. I was working at Fort Belvoir. I was working for one of the big 8 accounting firms in their consulting business. And this guy was Colonel, a full bird, Chuck Mudd, Colonel Mudd, walked up to my desk and said, "We've been watching you for a long time, and we want what you did for the reserve component of the Army, but we want you to come work for us, the active component of the Army. Are you willing to quit your job and start your own company?" And I was like, holy crap, yeah, of course I am. Next day I left. He gave me a contract. 1 year later, so here's 2, 3, 22, 23, 24, and then 10 years, and then 34 and 35. So I'm working for the active Army now as a contractor, and the Chuck number 2 came up to my desk, different part of Fort Belvoir, but Chuck Figgins came to me and said, "The FBI has been watching you and would like you to come help them with a couple of national emergencies." I said, holy smokes, I finished my contract with Colonel Mudd and went to work for the FBI. And I spent from 35 to 47, those 12 years, building my company and learning how to be a good businessman. And my life continued on its upward slant. But then at 47, I told this story on an earlier video, but I went and found a life coach, Steve Siskold. And Steve continued my wife's training on how to be a good man while being a good businessman. And that sent me on another trajectory higher until I met another coach, Tony Robbins, the TV guy. Everyone knows his name, right? And I spent a couple years, 1 year in particular I spent with him, but over a course of 2 years. And he introduced me to my business coach, my business life coach, Keith Cummings, and Cunningham, and he runs Key to the Vault, and he put me on a whole nother trajectory. And then my last one was a couple years later. I met a guy named Tony Laporta, TLP is what it says here, and he taught me how to invest. And I've spent all these years with Tony, and in fact, on the screens behind me is Tony's chat room. I still use him, and he put me on the path to how to be a great investor. My life has gotten all the way better. So all that talk. So who are the people who influenced my life most and gave me these 9 inflection points? My mom, Eric Gunnarsson, Dr. Rick Spillman, Jim Stanfill, my wife, Anne Marie, Colonel Chuck Mudd, Chuck Figgins, Steve Siskold, Tony Robbins, Keith Cunningham, and Tony Laporta. Those are the people that gave me this life trajectory to sit here and have the kind of life I have today. So there you go, guys. There's the answer to the question I wished I'd been asked. I wish life was so simple where I could say one person changed my life or was the most influential, but in my life, that just isn't true. And so to give you the real answer, I went with this stupid, I put a lot of work into this. You can tell this took weeks to put together, right? It took me 2 minutes with a pen, but yeah, if you can put up with the childish nature of the visual aid, please try not to attack the poor visual aid. And really, the message is, I had a series of people that have helped me to get to where I am today. And I'm sure if I sat down and really thought about it, there's probably 9 more. And I'm probably truly offended someone by not including them. But when I sat down and said, I'm going to do this VR, I'm going to do it right, these are the 9. And I wanted to introduce you to the concept of life inflection points. We have points in our life that change the trajectory that we are on. Sometimes for the worse, but for my life, I'm lucky enough, fortunate enough, blessed enough, gifted enough to have been granted at least 9 inflection points to make my life where it is today. Guys, I hope that helps. I hope that hits the mark. J&Ds, if hopefully this does what you were hoping it would do. Talk to you later, you guys.